We always say that like it's our mission, other than to make sure everybody's comfy and have like a family reunion, to make sure people know that like punk is not dead, right? There are people that are consistently coming out with new music, new bands that are banging and amazing and wonderful, that people just like say, oh, punk is dead, so we don't want to look for new artists. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. So that's really one of the things we want to make sure that we're hammering home to our entire community and those that want to be part of the community but don't really know where to start.
GhostCultMag.com welcomes in Veronica and Laura. How are you guys doing? Camp Punksylvania, other endeavors. How's everything going today?
Everything's going great. A little tired, a little sleepy. We overbook ourselves pretty often, but we're doing great.
Well, I appreciate you making the time. I'm also perpetually tired. I don't think anybody that works remotely in entertainment is not tired. I don't know how anyone feels rested. It's just not possible. But yeah, the festival got on my radar. This festival takes place in the fall. It's going to be epic. Tremendous lineup. I'm just going to read off some of the names. Suicide Machines, the reunited of Wilhelm Scream. That's a big get. Tsunami Bomb, seen him in concert. Awesome. Bad Cop, War on Women. So many fun and killer bands. Dollyrots. And the list goes on and on. So first and foremost, this is not a small question. So if it takes a second, I appreciate that. Like, when do you start booking a festival in advance? Is it, especially in the current environment, is it a long time, multiple years? How long in advance do you start the booking?
We are already booking for 2024. We started doing that about a month and a half ago. With the way that some of these larger scale bands are booking their tours, they're going all over the place and they're planning these things out, which means we need to be ready for that. So we have to jump on these things way in advance. But it's already shaping up to be something extra spectacular. So it takes a lot of time, and it's a good thing and a bad thing. It gives us time to be thorough and to go over the rest of the lineup and kind of figure out where we'd like to be for the year and stuff like that. But it is a process.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to like all of the bigger names that go on our festival, we very much like to focus on smaller acts and more local bands. And for those specifically, we have a submission timeline. It's usually like November the year before. So for 2023, that submission timeline was open November of 2022, where anybody can submit their band. Laura and I personally listened to every single band that comes through. It was like 500 this year. It was absolutely ridiculous. But then we'll get that list and then we'll send that to some other team members. And that process usually takes like a month or two for the smaller, more localized bands. But yeah, for the bigger ones like a Wilhelm Scream, like fucking Suicide Machines, all of that stuff, that's at least a year in advance.
Right. And again, it feels like a very curated lineup. It seems like you're into, this is your music also. You could not possibly do this and not be a fan. Of course, at the bigger level of festivals, not everybody loves everybody, but you're booking names, you're booking who's going to draw. But clearly this, is from the middle down. It seems like a very deep dive into, punk and sort of, the crossover of all the emo and metalcore and pop punk and all these things. It feels like a very personal lineup for y'all.
And that's how we started. That's why we do this, is because we love this music so much. We're really just a couple of people who love punk rock, and we said, listen, we just want to see our friends, and we want to have an excuse to do that at least once a year where we can get all of our people together. And this was our excuse. And this was us just having, Vero the other day jokingly called it a glorified hot dog party. And that's not really a joke. It was really just supposed to be a backyard party with a campfire, some of our friends' bands hanging out by the fire with acoustic guitars and getting drunk till the sun comes up, and overnight it turned into this thing on social media. And here we are, a whole pandemic later and 2 successful events later, and we have something that I don't think any of us could have. Well, I shouldn't say that. We all really have been dreaming of this lineup since year one, but the fact that it's actually happening this year and people are excited to come and hang out with us is a wild feeling.
You manifested it into reality, which is, I applaud you both. It's tremendous, especially considering the state of touring, the state of the world, the state of the post-pandemic economics, we're probably in a recession. We're gonna find out later, but we probably are definitely in one. And it's interesting to me because the East Coast, in general, I've said for years, America's kind of behind the rest of the world in terms of music festivals, and the East Coast doesn't have a lot of pure punk rock events. Out here, we have punk rock bowling on the West Coast and all over the country of other things. Radio festivals tend to be very pop punk and a little bit of, the emo revival, we'll call it, right? And so, and I don't think there's a lot of, if you don't count Florida, there's really no Danny Wimmerfest on the East Coast anymore. There used to be. So it's just interesting to me that you guys have really carved a cool niche. I don't know if this is also your area, if the East is your area, but like it seems like, yeah, it's just like a very perfectly positioned festival to have.
The cool thing with Riot Squad is the three of us. Terry is super mom, so she is not with us today. But the cool thing about the three of us is we're from all over the place. I'm from Central New York, Vero's from Pennsylvania, and Terry's from Ontario. So we're kind of able to say, hey, this is a regional thing now, not just a specific little city. But I remember, I think 2017 was the last year they did punk rock bowling in Asbury Park. And, since then we haven't had, you're right, we haven't had anything like Fest, because that's in Florida. There's really been nothing hitting our area that caters to our community. So, the fact that we can bring something like this here is really special. A bunch of us, formed these huge relationships at Camp Punk in Drublic in Ohio. We went back to Camp Anarchy and we did it again, and then it was canceled, and we were like, well, okay, let's roll these sleeves up and let's do this. And here we are. We survived halt and everything.
Exactly. Unknown if punk rock bowling will make it back to the East Coast. And I just interviewed Fat Mike, and I think other than a headline show or two, they're not doing much on the East Coast with the Punk and Drublic or the Farewell No Effects tour, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's
not
so
too
crazy
much
to me. It's crazy. And I was really hoping I could get back to Ohio so we can kind of like go back to where it all started. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. It would be cool to see them one last time though, if the stars align.
Right on. And shout out to Central New York, which people don't know is a tremendous bastion for pop punk and hardcore, like historically. And I'm from New York City, but we always looked up to Central New York and then even more north, like Buffalo, with respect.
I was just gonna say, we do Riot Squad does a ton of shows in the that's actually one of our biggest areas that we do shows in is Buffalo. So we have a soft spot in our heart for that area and Philly and stuff like that. But it's really nice to see that these places are still thriving just as much as they were, if not more. Everybody's like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? There's nothing going on. And every time I hear that, I'm like, you're so wrong. You're so wrong. Come to a show. We have a show almost at least once a week now. I feel like we're out doing something, and it's so awesome because there's constantly new bands, new people we're meeting, new labels popping up, and the community's thriving.
Yeah. We always say that like it's our mission, other than to make sure everybody's comfy and have like a family reunion, to make sure people know that like punk is not dead, right? There are people that are consistently coming out with new music, new bands that are banging and amazing and wonderful, that people just like say, oh, punk is dead, so we don't want to look for new artists. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. So that's really one of the things we want to make sure that we're hammering home to our entire community and those that want to be part of the community but don't really know where to start.
Right. I cringe hard when people say I can't find any good new music in the genre I like. I'm like, are you are you nuts? Like, are you not looking? Because that's clearly what it not looking, or maybe what is the problem is too much choice. We've been talking internally on our site and just with our staff, like there's so much, the volume of things coming out and new bands emerging and all things all the time. But yeah, I think it's laziness, or just you don't have maybe you didn't find the platform that's right for you yet to discover the music in the way that's comfortable for a fan. But it's usually laziness. It's like, I can't find anything you like. You can't find anything. No new bands, nothing.
We're really lucky. We're almost like forced to listen, when we have to go through these submissions, because what's fair is fair, like this is a people's festival. So we listen to these bands. We have our team listen to these bands. It's not just three people picking who's going to be on this lineup. It's a whole bunch of people who have input on this. So it's really a process, but it also opens up so many doors, one of the ways that we fund camp is hosting these shows all in between the year, just little DIY shows, the way that we know how to do things, but the bands that you're going to see on these shows are bands that submitted to camp and bands that we've met along the way. And it's almost like I said, we're forced to kind of listen to these new things, but man, it's so great. I can't tell you how many times I would hit her and Terry up and be like, you guys, I love this band. I'm down a rabbit hole now for 3 days. I haven't listened to anything else, you know, and it's awesome. Terry, we actually we haven't done it in a little while. We've taken a little hiatus, but it's supposed to be coming back. Sunday Spin, it was just a little like 15-20 minute show that we hosted, and we said, hey, this is what we're listening to. This is some new music coming out. And I think stuff like that is really important to hear from people that you know are putting up together shows that are really slam packed with great music and have decent taste that you can kind of trust. So it's awesome. Like I watch a bunch of things like that, and Mabel Syndrome's really good on putting out some new bands and stuff for me to keep an eye on. So there are people out there. There are people out there. You just have to look.
I dig it. Link us all that in the description. You know, we'll link everything in the description, but send those links to me. I will check the show out, and I will look forward to discovering some new bands.
Hopefully we'll have a season. I think it's season 3. Hopefully a season 3 will be back sometime soon. But it's, you know, being 3 people who kind of built something, it takes a lot. We've got full-time jobs and stuff too, so we're trying to get camp really out of the way before we worried about anything else, but we'll see what happens.
I get that. Let's talk for a second about Riot Squad and DIY booking and things like that, because like I said, on the bigger level, it's crisis time. It's like you see a lot of cancellations. I preach a lot of patience. I know fans are not patient. I was for a long time, a voracious music consumer and concert goer. And I wouldn't have been patient 25, 30 years ago if you said to me, like, the tour is postponed. Do you want your money back or can you wait? And I'm sure I was like an impetuous numbskull myself back then. So I get that it's hard to ask people, hey, like maybe this tour is not going to happen. But on the smaller scale, like for Riot Squad, how do you see the landscape? Because I do see a lot of bands trying to tour and not just be weekend warriors, but try to like go out and book tours. Like, what is it encouraging to you? Do you see a growth? Is it looking good, or are you concerned?
I'm not concerned, honestly. Like, especially lately, I have like full faith that everything's going to be okay for live music in our realm of things. Like, people are so good at the DIY aspect of things when they are forced into it, when the world shuts down and you have to kind of do things on your own. You are able to navigate things a little differently. And I think coming out of the pandemic, people were a bit more appreciative of, hosting safe shows, socially distanced shows at the beginning of things when nobody was really sure what the hell was going on. Like, how do you handle people? How do we do this and be okay with each other? And I also think it kind of lit a fire under a lot of these bands' asses too, to kind of like, hey, we were forced to stay home. We couldn't get out on the road. We couldn't even do little weekend jammers. We couldn't go away for a couple days. So they're out and saying, hey, now's the time, because we don't know if this is ever going to happen again. And I think that's awesome.
I think also with like the isolation of the pandemic and everything, there's been this revival of community, I want to say, because we all recognized, holy shit, I'm alone and this sucks. And we don't really want to be alone. So having that community and just this space where people can be themselves, because it's a subculture, right? A lot of the stuff that we love and really want to push for might not be something that you would get in an office where you're making friends at work, right? So having that place where you can kind of just like let go, enjoy the music you love, be with the people you love, and make those amazing connections is something that's really seen a revival since the pandemic as well.
And I think too, like in the beginning when venues were closing their doors literally left and right, so many of them too, that was terrifying because, everyone's thinking, okay, when we do come back, where are we going to go? And I also think that opened up another door. You have places that weren't normally hosting shows that are now opening up their basement and saying, hey, we're not putting storage down here anymore. We're hosting all ages shows down here. So come hang out upstairs, come downstairs at 7:00. And those are the kind of places that we're looking for. And those are the kind of places that we want to work with, because it's the same kind of the same ethos that we kind of have. We are doing this from the ground up, and we're doing this just purely out of the love of the scene. Like, no one's in this for a big chunk of money. We were $5-7 tickets. You know what I mean? Like, we're just here to have a good time. And the fact that we can get bands traveling from literally all over the place, passing through for an all ages show in a basement in downtown Buffalo is pretty cool, you know? Same thing for camp. Like the fact that we're getting Guttermouth to come through and play shirtless in the basement of a Days Inn in the pouring rain on a Sunday is just like, I don't think anyone's ever done that.
I don't think so either. That was definitely a very special moment. But talking about that Sunday, like, I don't know if you've heard, but last year, the last day of our festival, it was pouring, disgusting raining. We could not have been outside. It was horrible. So on the fly, we literally picked up everything, all of the vendors, the gear we needed, bare bones, and moved to the basement of a Days Inn and had a festival there with Guttermouth and all of these like really big names, which was such a surreal experience and really what we're about, because we want to bring that DIY ethos while having these larger names so that you can kind of commingle with the bands, and it really does just feel like a family reunion. Like we all love each other and love the scene and just do whatever we can to make sure that the show goes on.
You know, that was the coolest thing ever. I just remember, you know, again too, it was day 3, we're all exhausted and we had a beautiful first 2 days. Like couldn't have asked for better weather, better turnout. We'd more than doubled in size compared to year 1. So it was just something really amazing to see. But like that third night, we were watching The Code, which is a band that is very special to a lot of us. Like landing The Code for camp last year, everybody was like, oh my God. But we were like shoving pierogies and pizza in our mouth and just like dancing together and hugging each other. And it was just like, man, this is the weirdest experience ever. You've got Guttermouth right over here in the green room. You have a band that hasn't played together since Lord knows when on stage. We're eating pizza and sandwiches and pierogies with our friends. We're dying, but we did this. We did this all ourselves. And it's just the weirdest feeling. I really can't explain it. And it's something still almost, I don't even know how 8 months later now that I still have trouble processing. Like I think about it and I don't know how I'm going to handle this year already. I have no idea. It really is a passion project. So to see it come together is it's emotional.
Nice. I get it. First of all, pizza and pierogi sounds terrific. And
it was fantastic. It was actually awful, but it was fantastic.
Oh, I get it. And also the advertising nerd in me feels like Days In, there's an automatic link up there. It's time for some fun advertising with Guttermouth music behind it, you know. Came to the Days Inn for a cheap, comfy place to stay, but got a punk rock show out of it, something like that. I could see a bunch of TikTok videos.
Sold that place out and they were shocked at the people coming in and out of there. But what was awesome is at the end of the week, I talked to the manager over there and she was so sweet. She was like, you guys are clean. She goes, you're loud as hell, but you are clean. You're friendly. You're funny. You look out for each other. You ask us how we're doing in the morning. Like, and that's what punk rock is all about to me. It is just going in and it's shocking people, right? But it's doing it in a way that like you're not expected to shock them. So right. The fact that we're like, hey, Scranton, here we are, all these people with studs and mohawks and leather boots and all this crazy stuff. How are you? Can we have a hug? And it was just this really cool thing to see the whole area just be like, what is going on? And now they know who we are. And it's cool that they're excited for us to come back this year.
It's actually really cute because the guy that runs, so we have this at the Circle Drive-In, which is a really, really nice venue. We can have the stage and like market and vendors and everything on the like place where people park to watch movies. And then we can have everybody camping in the woods and it's amazing. The guy that runs it, actual angel sent from heaven. His name is Dave. We love Dave.
We call him Dad.
We call him Dad. He's amazing. Was not a punk rocker before this. Was just this sweet little guy from Scranton, Pennsylvania that was just running a movie theater, and it was great. And now he texts us and he's like, I'm doing my homework. I'm listening to punk rock and I really like the lineup this year. Like,
the other day he was sending us links to check out, and I just think that's so funny. And that's the epitome of what camp is like. And I feel like we say this in every single interview that we do, and I probably will say it until we're done doing interviews, until we're old and gray. But if we can get you to come out for the headliner and you end up falling in love with a band that you caught on the stage at 2:00 while you were ordering a hot dog and buying a t-shirt, and you went over and you bought their vinyl and you are now going to see them at their shows that are close to you, like, our job is done. Our job is done. Getting those smaller bands because they're just as talented, if not more, than those bigger bands in your ear and on your turntable is what we want to do.
Right. And that's why we do this, right? We obviously love the Suicide Machines, love Tsunami Bomb, all of our headliners, amazing. Cannot believe we landed them. But the reality of why we do this is because we love all of the smaller local bands. And like Laura said, we want to make sure we're supporting our community and the people that helped us get to this point of where we're at. So giving back to them is so, so important to us.
Yeah, you'll see that we have our lead sound engineer is playing on our main stage twice this year and also running sound the entire event. And you'll also see that our lead stage assistant and stage manager are also doing the same thing. This truly is a group effort. And, it's our way of giving back to those guys. Hey, you want to come and, without you, this wouldn't be possible. So yeah, grab your guitar and get up there and do your thing. And if we can get you out there, then hell yeah. And if that means that you're going to play a couple really awesome shows coming up after camp, even better. Let's do it again next year.
Amazing. I'm so glad to hear all that. I want to backtrack for one more second and say I love the thing you said about, like, can we have a hug? Because I was an attendee of many a Warped Tour, believe it or not, despite being a big metal guy. Also still come from a wide variety of musical backgrounds. And, Warped ended up having a reputation, as great as it was, as much as it did for everybody, of not being the safest space. So I like the idea that this women-led company and booking agency that has a lot of history, no diss to anybody else, but a lot of history putting on shows and in all kinds of spaces, is doing this big festival. I'm not sure if there's another one out there that's apples to apples like y'all. I know there's a few other bigger festivals in the world of other genres, but I think it's really cool because it hasn't always been the most safe and welcoming place, and it needs to be, right? Like, this is something I think has to be front and center across the board of any genre of music. It really can't have an unsafe, foul place for people.
Yeah, 1000%. Like, we obviously love the music, but the reason we do this is the community. And our community consists of everyone, right? Regardless of any sort of marginalized identity or any sort of background or anything. Our space is safe for everybody. At least we try our hardest to make it that way. If there is any whisper of misconduct from anybody in the bands or anything like that, they are cut. We do not put up with any of that shit. I come from a background of work with survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. And so it is so, so incredibly important that something that Laura, Terry, and I create runs along with those ethos. And we are protecting as many people as we possibly can that attend our event.
And, we do our absolute best to do research on stuff, but obviously there are some things that slip through the cracks. So when people feel comfortable enough to come forward to us privately, publicly, whatever, and let us know things, that's really important to us as well. It helps us for the future booking of shows too, and just to keep other people safe as well. We're not here to bash anybody. We're not here to do that. We're not here to put anybody on blast, but we are here to make sure that when you step through the door or the fence or wherever of a Riot Squad show that you are going to, that you feel safe around everybody in that room.
Yeah. And we really encourage, like, if there's at all a point where somebody feels unsafe, come to me, come to Laura, come to Terry. We will take care of the situation, make sure you are in a safe spot, whether that means removing you until we are able, to a backstage or something, until you are able to feel safe and we take care of the issue. We will 100% do that.
Right on. Appreciate that. And thanks for sharing all that. Again, just important to me. I think it's important to put it out there. We need to have accountability and accessibility, right? Or else
we'll shout out our friends Punk Rock Saves Lives while we're at it. They're alongside of us right at camp, pushing to the same thing, making sure that everybody feels safe. If something's going down, you can bet your ass if one of us is right there, one of them is right next to us to make sure that everything's okay. So I think that, again, working with groups and bands and brands with these same kind of ethos that we have is really the key to keeping everybody safe and keeping everybody happy, and to also growing our community. You're going to want to go where your friends feel safe and people are like, hey, I had a great time here. I love these people. I keep going back because these people treat me right. Like, and we're not doing that because we feel like we have to, but like we're people and we want to be treated like people, so we're going to treat you like people, and that's
Right.
just a common no-brainer to us. So if we can push that, we're going to push that.
Yeah, and with the Punk Rock Saves Lives partnership, like they do so much for our community. But one thing specifically with their attendance at live events is we're able to have harm reduction materials on site. So we do have free Narcan, we have free condoms, free Plan B, free whatever we need there, so that if something goes down, we are able to figure it out and solve that problem.
Amazing. Thank you for that. That's great. I love hearing that. And again, everybody should aspire to do what you guys do. Just as we start to wind this down, I want to give you back your very busy day, and thank you for carving out some time for us and our audience. You are the first interview I have done since the news that Sum 41 is breaking up at the end of their next tour, which is
Oh my
insane
gosh,
to
I
me.
saw that.
Yeah.
I almost said Blink 182, but I have them on my mind for another reason, because that record is not good. But anyway, come back, don't make a good record. I don't know what to tell you guys. You and Blink and Paramore, I have no words for you. But I'm bummed because I feel like, Sum 41 is a band that really, it's this generation's band, that's their band. And they're entitled to, disband and go on their ways after whatever, 27, 28 years. They have a new record coming out. They're going to do a world tour, festivals, and the whole shebang. So it's not like they're disappearing, but they are definitely, there's an end date, right? And this is happening. I talk about this all the time in rock and metal, scenes. Like, you don't know when you're never going to see your favorite band ever again. They might not come back if you skip a tour. And I know that's weird, undue pressure, but it's like, go see your heroes, right? So
It's really true though, and I think that's why camp is so special to us too, is because like we're booking bands that we've looked up to since we were this big. I've been listening to Suicide Machines since I can't remember. I remember stealing their CDs out of the stereo at the restaurant that my dad used to own from the dudes that used to work in the kitchen. I'd be like, what is this? And I'd steal it. So the fact that like we have these people playing our festival, we don't, not that they're old or whatever, but like the fact that they're still going is amazing enough as it is. But like to have them grace our stage is huge. It's huge because we don't know if Suicide Machines are going to say, you know what, we're going to call it after this. Like, we've done this for long enough. We're going to call it. And the fact that we have an opportunity to catch them before that happens is fucking cool. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Or you can swear, it's fine. The YouTube already hates us. It doesn't matter. Now you can't swear anymore. Good luck to me. Oh man, what do I do with my whole history of videos where I'm swearing like a sailor, and the guest as well? But I appreciate all that, and that's great. I think I saw Suicide Machines for the first time open for Green Day right before Dookie broke big. So, wow. And that was like, it was a theater show, and they were the opening band. So it's going back away. Same thing, Tsunami Bomb, same thing. So War Women is killer. I got to shout out Shauna is one of my favorites. She's insane. And the whole Bridge 9 family of bands. I'm sure you work with a bunch of them. So awesome stuff. Thank you for sharing all that. And we will be sure to promote this thing as well as we can. First weekend of September, Camp Punksylvania. Congratulations on everything you do with Riot Squad Media and your third partner, Not Here. And thanks for just hanging out with Ghost Cult today. And best of luck to you on all the future endeavors and this festival.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been a blast.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.